I do believe that the bank should be relevant in the years to come. And that's just because of the leverage that they have from the regulators. Because currently, there are some quite essential services that fintechs are not allowed to perform. A pleasant day to our viewers and listeners. Welcome to this maiden edition of your payment and financial technology podcast, E-Rails. I'm your host, Uzo Mehe, and I'm glad to be taking you on this maiden voyage. I'm not here alone. My co-host is here with me. I will allow her introduce herself.
Hi everyone, my name is Damlola Kinoto, and I'm really excited about this opportunity, on this podcast.
On the E-Rails podcast, we'll be providing valuable insight into development and happenings in the payment and financial ecosystem in Nigeria. Wow, a lot is happening that you guys need to know, and I'm glad to be bringing them to your knowledge.
Yeah, so we're going to also have the opportunity of having various industry experts to come share their knowledge, experiences, and their success stories, around the fintech space. It promises to be an exciting, rewarding, and beautiful journey. So what do you think?
Yeah, I'm excited about that. Also on the E-Rail podcast, we'll be providing global perspective on compliance and risk standards, and we'll be bringing them to bear in our own market, especially in the Nigerian market.
Exactly. The podcast is about demystifying payment, risk, and compliance. It's about bringing you information, knowledge, and sharing our experiences around everything that has to do with e-payments.
More importantly, we'll be engaging with you, our audience. We'll also be getting your feedback on your payment experiences in our local market. Wow, it promises to be an exciting time. But ultimately, the goal is to provide you with valuable insight and intelligence that you will not find elsewhere. And it promises to be an exciting time. I'm excited. Dami, how about you?
I'm very excited, and I can't wait to carry you along on this journey.
Exactly. Okay, having laid the foundation, I think we might as well jump right into today's topic. And today's topic is the opportunities and challenges in the payment ecosystem in Nigeria. So, Dami, a lot is happening in the fintech landscape in Nigeria.
Very true.
Exactly. So what are the factors responsible for this growth that we have experienced in the payment landscape in Nigeria in recent years?
For me, I think one of the major things that has really, caused the fintech industry to really go like boom is, COVID-19. COVID-19 came and then it shifted. It made us realize that payments, you don't have to be in the four walls of a particular or shop to be able to do transactions. You can actually sit in the comfort of your house and do any transaction, seamlessly, right? So I think the COVID-19, he brought his own challenges, but also brought about, opportunities in the fintech space. Additionally, I would also say the world has become more and a lot of people now have access to internet. A lot of people they have more knowledge, and then so many things are happening in the world right now, and then people are just innovating. So innovation is bringing about so many things, and then creativity too. So like the average African is innovative, and average African is creative, and then we are also in that era where everything is going So, in my opinion, I think those are some of the factors that are responsible for the fintech boom that we have now.
Wow, I can't agree with you more, especially on your point that touches on the contribution of COVID-19.
Yeah.
I remember vividly way back then when everyone was locked up and people couldn't go out. It was a matter of survival, and people just had to survive. And people just had to start ordering things online. And you would see that that's when the e-commerce business really boomed in Nigeria. And there was a lot of activity and traffic on the e-commerce space. Wow, COVID-19 really contributed significantly.
Yeah, it did.
From my perspective, I would say I would want to look at it from two broad perspectives. From a technological standpoint and from a regulatory standpoint. For me, I would say that it is the interplay of these two factors played a very significant role in the current growth of the fintech space in Nigeria. And this is exactly what I mean. All right. The advancement in the mobile technology has, by way of the introduction of smartphones, was a very strong contributory factor. I remember way back when people had ordinary phones, the development in the industry wasn't as advanced as it is right now.
Yeah.
But with mobile phones in the hands of everybody, the opportunities are limitless. The opportunities abound everywhere, both in the medical field, in agriculture, even in the creative industry. Technology is revolutionizing the way we do things. Isn't that exciting?
Very
All
exciting.
due to the advancement in the mobile technology. Also, still talking about the technological standpoint, looking at the application, the development in the API technology that provided opportunities for systems to communicate is also another contributory factor to the current boom in the fintech revolution that we are experiencing. That aside, if I come to the regulatory space, I must give credit to the regulators in our market. And I want to give that credit to the central bank because a lot has happened in the last decade that has contributed significantly to the growth that we are experiencing. One is the digital identity, transformation in digital identity, the regulation that the CBN has brought out by way of the BVN, introducing the BVN campaign, all right? That kind of laid the foundation upon which this mobile technology are building upon. Because one of the major or significant challenges in the industry at the time was in terms of KYC, being able to verify identity of both the sellers and the buyers. So once the CBN introduced a credible way of verifying people's identity, of course, it automatically means that it provided the springboard upon which many technological products and apps are currently building and layering their products upon. So for me, it's been an exciting and interesting journey in the regulatory space. Again, also beyond that, just after the BVN, of course, the CBN followed suit with the NIN program, and of course, all in a bid to manage digital identity. So that for me is a very, very strong contributory factor in the growth of the fintech space in Nigeria. What do you think?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, your perspectives to the growth in the fintech space is very apt. I mean, because Nigeria as a country is not where we were 10 years ago.
Exactly.
Right? We have really the country has really developed technology wise. There's a lot of innovation, and then everybody in the ecosystem is doing one great thing or the other, to move the ecosystem forward.
And you just take a look at the Google Play Store, you'll find some very interesting apps, that were developed by Nigerians. Quite interesting. Yeah. What do you think?
I mean, it's amazing.
Really amazing,
really
right?
Amazing,
really
yes.
amazing. Okay, Damilola, another area of interest that I would like to talk about is this. There's this general perception in the industry that fintechs have found relevance in a space that was originally exclusive to banks. So how can you describe the role of fintechs really? Are they disruptors or enablers?
For me, I think they're a bit of both. Because, I mean, disruptors in the sense that they are changing the way traditional banks or the traditional model of banking, right? Because before, there's so many things that we thought were not possible, right?
Yes.
And now the fintechs have
Yes.
opened our eyes to see that these things are actually possible, right? They've brought a lot of speed to doing transactions. They've also brought about, a very good customer service, right? And then, I could actually do a transaction, sit in the comfort of my house, and do a cross-border payment to anywhere in the world without hassles or without the usual obstructions, and then I have to wait 2-3 days to do the transaction. And so they are enablers in the way that they've brought about a lot of financial inclusion, right? And then, like they've also helped the bank to bring in the unbanked population in Nigeria. So I'll call them, I would say that they're a bit of both, really. What's your opinion?
Exactly. I couldn't agree with you more. Indeed, they are a bit of both, really, because we can describe them as disruptors in a way, because you find fintechs eating into space or taking part of the market share that was prior to now dominated by the banks, traditional banks, all right, especially with respect to the financial inclusion that you talked about. You find even in the local, in the rural areas, you find digital penetration in the rural areas right now. It was impossible to find, POS operational in the rural areas before
Exactly.
now. But the fintech revolution in the country has made that possible.
Yeah.
You could send money to anyone, even our 8 parents, way back, even in their farms. All right. And all this has been made possible via the advancement brought about or innovation brought about by the fintechs.
You don't even have to be educated to do banking
Exactly.
these days.
So they are taking quite a lot of market share from the banks,
Yeah.
and they are giving the banks a run for their money, especially by way of innovation. And so I would also describe them as enablers as well, because of the current collaboration between banks. Of course, fintechs need to rely on banks. They need to collaborate with banks to be able to come up with innovative products. But ultimately, in my view, all right, they have come to bring about efficiency in the way we do things in the banking system, efficiency in process, all right? And in the end, who benefits? It's the consumers, it's you and I, it's the users. And I'm all for it. Whatever brings innovation and enhances user experience for me is most welcome. So whether we say they are disruptors or we say they are enablers, regardless, as long as they are enhancing user experience. And quite frankly, I think they are here to stay.
Yeah, so we would like you guys to also let us know, in the comment section, what do you think?
Exactly.
Right?
Let us know, what do you think?
How has, using an app of any of these fintechs, how has it really helped you or made your life better? So let us know. So, Uto, what do you think are the challenges that are affecting the growth of, the fintech in Nigeria?
Wow, Damilola, that's a very interesting question. And in my view, I would say the biggest challenge that the industry is currently facing, for me, would be fraud. All right. Yes, we have quite a very young population and very individuals who are very enthusiastic and who are tech savvy. And because of that exuberance, there are quite a number of people that are trying to, or that consistently try to exploit the vulnerabilities in some of these digital solutions that are being put out there. So essentially, really, some have been successful, and that's why you find that the advent of fraud seems to be a bit on the rise in our market. All right. But be that as it may, I know that the regulators are trying to do something about that. But I'm confident that, in the times to come, this problem is going to be behind us. But aside from fraud, another big challenge in the industry is the level of financial literacy as well. Okay, so and I think this is also one of the enablers of fraud. Many people, especially those who are in the rural areas, yes, they have this technology in their hands, but there are some rules that you must obey. There are some sites that you don't go to. There are some things that you don't do that you must do rather to protect yourself. So you find a situation because of the low level of literacy, many of these individuals tend to fall victim of the antics of some of these fraudsters. So in my view, really, so those are the two major challenges that the industry, or that is militating the growth of that of the fintech industry. And yes, just before I forget, there's also one major one as well, which is the poor infrastructure in the country. I think it can be better. I recall vividly during the time of COVID, all right, because of the poor broadband and internet connectivity, you found out that so many transactions were failing. All right. And so what that does is that it kind of dampens the confidence of people in some of these digital solutions and digital products. What do you think?
Wow, yeah, Uzo, I couldn't agree more. Like, you're very right, especially on the fraud part, right? I feel like there's still a lot of collaboration that needs to be done, in the fintech space, with the regulators, the fintech enablers, and even the stakeholders, me and you that use this technology. Viewers, if you would like us to have an interactive section on how you can protect your sensitive banking information, leave us a comment in the comment section below. Also, another thing that I think is also, a threat to the fintech industry in Nigeria is the cybersecurity risk.
Yes.
Do you think our fintechs are doing enough in protecting themselves from cybersecurity risk?
Well, I guess many of the fintechs are doing the best they can within the space or the limitations that they face. All right. Of course, the increasing number of cyber criminals doesn't make things easier for them. We have the proliferation of hackers, we have identity theft, we have email scam, and all manner of cyber crime that poses a challenge and a threat to both data privacy, information security, and the likes. And of course, the proliferation of these threat actors are one of those things. It affects the confidence of users. There are some individuals that you would ask that would rather still prefer to take a walk to the banking hall to do their businesses. Why? Because they are not confident about the security of the online space, all because of these threat actors. So that is a major challenge that the regulators and all the players in the ecosystem need to work on.
Yeah, I think they also need to do more and invest in, better cybersecurity infrastructures.
Exactly. Yes. Okay, Damiola, since the outset of the fintech in the payment ecosystem, what kind of impact have they created in the Nigerian market?
Wow. I think they've brought in a lot of innovation to payments, right? And like I mentioned earlier, so many things that we thought were not possible.
Exactly.
I mean, they're making it look so easy and seamless, right? So they brought in a lot of innovation, speed in transactions, customer delivery, customer service, and you could actually do anything from anywhere. You could be a small business owner in Lagos and accept payment from anywhere in the world. So, I mean, it's just the beginning of greater things to come. What do you think?
I agree with you completely. I think that the impact of the fintechs in the market has been so significant that the only limitations, in my humble view, is just your imagination.
Yeah.
Because they find application in almost every sector that you can imagine. In the medical sciences, in agriculture, in education, you have fintechs. We have educational apps. We have medical diagnostics apps. All right. We even have fintechs finding, digital solutions that are penetrated even in our agricultural space, even way back in the rural areas. I recall vividly when the former Minister of Agriculture, when he was at the helm of affairs, one of the major innovations that he introduced in the fertilizer distribution was propelled or driven by the use of digital solutions. And I'm sure that the fintechs had one or two roles to play in that. So wow, it's an interesting space, and I'm very, very excited. And I must say that I'm proud of what we've been able to achieve as a country.
Yeah, very proud. Nigerians are just so innovative, and I think the future of African payments is very, very bright.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you exactly.
Okay, so Uzo, what do you think are the skill sets that are required in the fintech space, and what career path do you think exists here?
Okay, one of the objectives of this podcast is to demystify fintechs really. And there's this general misconception that you need to be all techie and
Right.
have all these tech and coding stuff to excel in the fintech industry. But I think that perception is really very wrong because the kind of skill set, you need a broad range of skill sets, all right, to be able to excel in the fintech industry, and not necessarily, it need not
Techie.
necessarily be tech or coding skills, as
Yeah.
it were. Of course, because of the volume of customer data that you will be handling in the fintech, of course, we need data analytics skills. We also need things like marketing skills. We also need, of course, things like analytical and problem solving skills, because essentially the whole solution, that whatever solution that is being developed, is useless if it doesn't address any problem. So anyone who is going to excel in the fintech space must be able to analyze problems and must be able to solve problems. He must also be able to sell, but more importantly, he must also be able to communicate and to write. So there's a broad range of skill sets required to excel in the fintech industry. And what are the career paths? Limitless. The opportunities abound. There are opportunities for sales. There are opportunities for compliance professionals. There's opportunities for risk experts. All right. There's also opportunities for the tech guys. There's also opportunities even for auditors. All right. And the career path are limitless. What do you think, Dami?
Yeah, I think you're very right. It's very multidimensional. Like, there's so many things that you can do in the fintech space. You can add value irrespective of whatsoever career path that you are in. I mean, even in medical tech, right? You can add
Right,
value,
yes.
right? So like, there is really nothing that you cannot, however it is that you cannot function there. You can function there irrespective of your career path.
Okay, so Dami, what is the prospect for fintechs in Nigeria?
Wow, prospect for fintechs in Nigeria is enormous. But one thing really that I feel like is very important at this point where we are, that would also help us, in the nearest future, is better collaboration.
Yes.
Right, we need to have better collaborations among the players in this space, regulators, the fintech enablers, even the stakeholders. Right, everyone needs to come together to be able to build payment infrastructure that are safe, secure, and resilient. So I think, having that good foundation would help us and will help everyone in this system to grow and even scale beyond our imagination.
Wow.
What do you think?
Yeah, exactly. I'm completely aligned. The opportunities for fintech in this industry in Nigeria is quite very bright. The industry is still very much in its young and nascent phase, and the industry is still growing and rapidly at that. Many products and solutions are still being developed and will still be developed, coupled with the fact that there seems to be a lot of competition in the industry. And you know what they say, competition always enhances user experience to the extent that users get to benefit. Of course, the prospects is high, the prospect is bright, and I have no doubt that the industry will continue to do very well, will continue to excel. And coupled with the fact that we have lots of talent. Nigeria, there's a pool of talent. There's a pool of talent. We can't even exhaust all the talent that we have in our ivory towers. Even amongst the kids right now, you find out that many young stars are so much interested in coding. It will amaze you the kind of solutions that are coming out even from primary schools, from secondary school. So because of the reservoir of talent that we have, the industry can only continue to grow. It is yet to plateau. And I see a situation where the industry will continue in its upward trajectory in the near future and in the distant future.
So, Uzo, do you think fintechs are threats to traditional banks?
Dami, that's a very interesting question. Wow. Are fintechs threats to traditional banks? In a way, I would say yes, they are, but also the opportunities exist for collaboration. All right? Because, like I said earlier, fintechs are not playing in a space that was initially or originally dominated by banks. And they are taking a larger chunk of the market share, really. And quite frankly, a lot of banks are trying to play catch up, especially when it comes to introduction of digital innovation, especially introducing convenience and enhancing user experience. So essentially, the banks are trying to play catch up. So really, in that way, we can say that they are a threat. But albeit, however, but they are giving the banks a run for their money, but they are
True.
making the banks, they are making the banks, making them to
Want to
innovate.
innovate too,
Exactly.
yeah.
All right. So ultimately, the banks will need to improve their processes. The
True.
bank will need to introduce better and more efficient ways of doing things. Otherwise, they find these fintechs eating their lunch and taking away their market share. So it depends really, but opportunities exist for collaboration. But in my view, I would say that the banks and the fintechs need to collaborate more rather than compete. Yes, they are competitors, but there are opportunities for collaboration. Like they say, the sky is enough for every bird to fly without touching each other. All right, the Nigerian market is very, very, very big. It's a massive market, and it's massive enough to contain all the players. But again, like I always say, for me, I'm all for competition as long as the user experience and the customer experience is enhanced. I don't want to go into a banking hall and spend hours. I don't want to go into a banking hall and be looking and start looking for someone to attend to me. Why do I have to when I can do all that in the convenience of my home or in the convenience of my room?
Yeah, and it's just, made me look at this also from, a recent experience or recent experiences that I've been having, right? You realize that, you take an average e-hailing app, Uber, Bolt, and then you're trying to make a transfer for a transaction. They will give you an account of any of these fintechs. Hardly would you do that
Yeah.
kind of transaction and then give you a traditional bank account. The reason for that is the speed.
Exactly.
Because
The speed.
everybody wants speed. I want to see my money like right now, right? And so most of these fintechs have been able to build infrastructures that are resident, that are efficient, right? And I feel like also the banks also need to do a lot more to be able to compete where these guys are, right? So they still need to do a lot more. So that's why, in my own opinion, I feel like they are strong competitors, and then the bank need to wake up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like the banks have really been they are really up on their toes right now, and I think that they are aware of the competition that the fintech poses to them. Otherwise, they really have to rise up to the challenge.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they might just find themselves playing the catch up, and they may not be able to catch up with at the speed at which the fintechs are moving. All right, especially in terms of the innovation that you talked about earlier. Of course, like you rightly mentioned, okay. Also during the time of COVID, you would see that it was the fintechs that came to the rescue,
Yeah.
especially with all the POS operators. You find out that they were the ones that were their POSs were working. Most of the bank POSs were failing, and those transactions were failing. All right, but the transactions that were being consummated on the fintech POSs at the time were very successful. All right. So, and that's why I strongly believe that the banks need to be aware of the competition that the fintech poses to them, and they ultimately need to wake up.
As a follow-up question, do you see the traditional banks being relevant in the next 10, 15 years?
Tammy, really and truly, the banks aren't going nowhere, at least not yet.
Okay, viewers, let us know what you think in the comment section.
The reason is this, right? Because from the operation of the industry right now, the fintechs really can't stand alone. And one of the leverage that the banks have over the fintechs is the fact that the fintechs can hold funds. All right. So ultimately, they will still need the banks to hold the funds. But who knows? The regulations can change tomorrow. But as we speak today, to the extent that it's only the banks that can hold funds, the fintechs will still ultimately depend on the banks. All right. So as long as that is still in place, the banks will always have that leverage. For how long, I don't know. But it's for the regulators to decide. But again, to manage the risk in the industry, right? And I think that it still makes sense for the bank still to be able to hold those funds because they have better security, especially in terms of their shareholder capital and the capital adequacy ratio, and they have better resilience to be able to handle any external or financial shock compared to the fintechs. So for the stability of the entire industry, it still makes sense for the banks to be able to hold those funds, but for how long, I really can't tell.
All right, we'll have to wait and see.
Wow, it's been an interesting session and I've thoroughly enjoyed myself. Dami, how about you?
I totally enjoyed myself too.
Wow, and I'm looking forward to the next episode of the E-Rail Show.
Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe at E-Rails Podcast on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. See you next time.
See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.